Nichelle, host of Chickpeas and Lentils, and if you are new to my channel, welcome. I am so glad that you are here. And if you've been around for a while, I have missed you. I am back and ready to post new videos. So today is going to be an update. I've got some notes written down here. I'm going to share how I have lost 160 pounds following a high-carb, low-fat, vegan lifestyle, along with alternate day fasting. Like, let that sit in. 160 pounds, that's a whole nother person. That's almost my half my body weight. Okay, but before we get into all of this, I just want to make note that I have on my Honest jeans. We're just going to insert a picture of me. I'll take a picture and once we get finished with the video. And you can see that I have on my Honest jeans. So I borrowed this tip from Jen Stevens, who is the author of Fast, Feast, Repeat. And instead of completely depending, totally on the scale and that number, Jen came up with this idea of having a pair of jeans that she would periodically try on. And if they honestly fit, then she knew she was on target with her weight. So my Honest jeans are Old Navy Rockstar Super Skinny, size 4. So these are the ones that I had on, I think it's back in September, when I declared my goal, that I was at my goal weight. And so I've had them ever since. So these are my Honest jeans that I have on today. And I have to say that they fit looser now than they did when I bought them. So that's a good sign. So because there is so much information that I want to share with you, I'm actually going to do this video, it's going to have 3 parts. So today, I'd like to define what alternate day fasting is, or ADF, how and what I eat, and the benefits of alternate day fasting. So alternate day fasting is a fasting protocol where you alternate between eating and fasting. My fast lasts around 36 hours. I break my fast between 12:30 and 2 p.m. And I usually close my eating window around 9 p.m. on my fasting days. During the period of fasting, I follow, as I mentioned, a high-carb, low-fat vegan lifestyle. So I usually break my fast with something raw, either a salad or a bowl of fruit. And I know myself to be a volume eater. And because the foods that I eat are naturally low in calories and nutrient dense, I can eat large volumes of unprocessed fruits, veggies, and legumes. This is one of the reasons I've been able to lose and maintain my 160 pounds. I eat until I am totally full. I don't count any calories, there's no weighing, and there's no measuring. I've been following this way of eating since May of 2020, and my starting weight was 324.6 pounds. My motivation for getting started was I didn't want to die from COVID. I was morbidly obese, African American, and I was over the age of 50. And so this was the demographic that it seemed to be hitting the hardest. And like many of you, I'm sure, lost friends and loved ones during this time. And so I just made the choice that I wanted to not only be here and just be alive, but I also wanted to thrive. And I told my children that I want to be here to see their children. So I want to be alive for my grandchildren. And so I knew that I had to make some changes. I had yo-yo dieted for many, many years. Probably all of my adult life, I've yo-yo dieted. But I knew I had to find something that I could maintain. I've never had a problem with losing weight. My problem has always been on the maintenance end. And even at this age and being perimenopause, I'm still able to lose weight. And thankfully, as I'm going into maintenance, I will continue to grow and develop on how to maintain my weight loss. So back in 2020, I had been watching videos on the Starch Solution actually for a couple of years. I've been watching YouTubers, you name some of the most popular ones, I had watched them all. And I am, I guess I'm a little suspicious by nature. So it took me all this time. It took me 2 to 3 years to actually believe that it was really something real, because it just didn't make sense as that someone could lose weight eating carbs, because every diet I had ever been on was cut the carbs, cut the carbs. We've always been told that the carbs are what is keeping us and making us fat. And that is true to some extent. So what I ended up doing was buying a copy of Dr.John McDougall's The Starch Solution. And the theme of The Starch Solution is eating whole foods. It's following a vegan lifestyle that is low fat, it's high carb. So eating potatoes and rice and beans and fruits and vegetables and all these things, but just in its natural state. So it's having a baked potato without sour cream or without cheese and bacon and all these things that we add to our starches that makes them so calorie dense that is indeed what is giving the carb the bad rap. Because a potato on its own is marginal in calories. And there's usually little to no fat in most carbs. So that's not the problem. The carbs are not the problem. It's what we put on the carbs is the problem. So after reading the Starch Solution, I started my journey. So now on my fasting days, I follow Jen Stevens, again, the author of Fast, Feast, Repeat. I follow her protocol of what she calls clean fasting. Because if you do some searches, on YouTube and things, you're gonna find all kind of different things that people call fasting. There's a protocol where you can have 50 calories a day. There's a protocol where you can have, I guess, like vegetable broth or bone broth or something like that. But based on the science and the research reports that Jen Stevens talks about in her book, clean fasting is nothing but water, unflavored mineral water, black tea, and or black coffee. And the reason why the tea and the coffee for most people will make that make the cut is because coffee and tea, black, are bitter, and bitter, I guess, doesn't evoke a response of food when you put something bitter in your mouth. It doesn't start the insulin process. And so those are the things that she considers a clean fast. Now, when I first started fasting, I was drinking like the flavored teas, and I would drink the flavored waters, like the, what's the one water called, babe? Bubbly. These waters that would be orange flavored or lemon lime flavored. And it was hard in the beginning to not be hungry. on my fasting days. And after reading Jen's book, that's what I found out was probably the cause. I would also chew gum, like when I would get hungry. And so all of these things send signals to your brain that you're eating. If you drink something that's lime flavored, your body registers that as food. And so it's like, hey, start the process. It wakes up the body to start the digestive process. And so these things kind of kept me in a window of being hungry all the time. And I thought that the things that I was drinking, like the flavored waters and the flavored teas, were actually helping me when they were not. Once I switched to drinking only water, unflavored mineral water, and sometimes I'll have a little bit of black coffee. Not a lot. I'm not really a tea drinker, so the tea doesn't, I don't drink the tea. But every now and then when I say a little, I'm talking literally like a couple of sips. Sometimes if I'm going to the gym and I'm feeling maybe a little sluggish, or I didn't sleep my whole 8 hours, and I may have literally just a couple sips of black coffee. And but once I switched to that protocol, it just got easier. I've increased my water to almost a gallon of water a day on my fasting days. And that has helped me tremendously to keep, to keep me feeling satisfied. So I started alternate day fasting in February of 2022. I had come across this YouTuber. His name is Chris James, and his YouTube channel is called A Healthy Alternative. And his channel just provided all these testimonials and science-based information as to why water fasting was a very useful protocol for weight loss. And so what I ended up doing was doing my first water fast. Years and years ago, I have done maybe 3-day juice fasts, 5-day juice fasts, but I had never done a water fast before. And so I did my first 5-day water fast and ended up losing, I think it was about 13 or 14 pounds in 5 days. But I didn't want to regain the weight. And so this is how I came across alternate day fasting. It has now been 16 months since I started this protocol of alternate day fasting. And I'm pretty strict with my fasting and feasting days. Once I make a plan, I stick to them. There was a trip that I took to Atlanta, and I was there for a couple of days, but I had decided prior to going that I was going to switch protocols. I was going to switch from alternate day fasting to intermittent fasting with a window of 16-8. So that's 16 hours of fasting and an 8-hour eating window. And that just helped to bring more flexibility. I was on vacation. There were, I didn't have access to all of the foods that I'm usually used to. And so this just made it possible for me to still follow a fasting protocol, even though it was different from what I was used to doing. But as soon as I got back home, I went straight back to my ADF protocol of where I had left off. Fasting has become a lifestyle for me that goes beyond weight loss. Fasting is how I support my body with making repairs and healing. Another YouTuber, Dr. Mindy Peltz, is an amazing resource here on YouTube when it comes to fasting, especially for women. She takes medical research on fasting and she breaks it down and gives like practical tools and tips on what women need to do to fast. Women fast differently than men. So what are the benefits of fasting, specifically with alternate day fasting? So the first one is I have managed to lose between 2 and 12 pounds a month. Fasting gives me a break from having to feed myself. I know that's like an obvious thing, but I think if you have the type of personality that's always thinking of food, as I used to, always thinking of food, what was I going to eat next? Always trying to figure out what was the next way to lose weight, the easiest way, or finding some kind of new protocol. Like, this just gives me a break. And even though I still cook for my family, now that I clean fast, so there's nothing that I'm having but water, I don't send my body those signals to eat. So I don't struggle like I did in the beginning with being hungry. So even though I'm cooking food or I am watching other people eat because there's events and things. If I go to an event, I tell you what, I went to a Christmas gala and it just wasn't worth it. I mean, you go to things like that, and you ask for a vegan plate. It's just gonna be so nondescript. And the event fell on a fasting day for me, and it just wasn't worth it. It was gonna be late at night. By the time they served you dinner, we're talking about like 7, 8 o'clock. And so I decided that I was not going to eat. It did not bother me one bit that people around me were eating. The food didn't look that great anyway. And according to my husband and my daughter, I didn't miss anything. So, once I set my mind that this is what I'm going to do, this is, I pretty much stick with it. So fasting has also helping me to deepen my spiritual walk with God. I think for me on those fasting days, I just have a lot more clarity. I have a lot more energy. And I've used this term before where I call them spiritual downloads. I just feel like declutter our minds, then it allows the frequency and the information, I feel like, for God to communicate, it just becomes a lot more clear. And because food has been my crutch for so long, it's like once the food and the hunger cues are silenced, I just seem to hear from God in a very beautiful way, the way He communicates with me. Fasting also resets my taste buds. So like I said, I do a 36-hour fast for most days. Sometimes it can go like 40 hours, but usually it's about 36. And in those 36, during that fasting time, my taste buds, they just kind of reset. And so the thought of having fresh fruit and a huge salad just tastes good to me. When I'm thinking about, having that on my feasting day, the food just tastes better. It's like my palate has been cleansed during that time. And so the more I eat the raw vegetables, the fruits, the legumes, the potatoes, the more I want them. And so it helps to just reset my taste buds. I no longer feel like food is the driver. I've talked about this in another one of my videos, that I have control over the choices that I'm making about what I decide and when I decide to eat. And so for me, that has been most helpful in this journey and helping me to strengthen that muscle of getting used to being the driver and not allowing food to be the driver. that I decide what I want to eat. I decide when I want to eat. I decide when my window opens and when my window for eating closes. All these are my decisions, and they're decisions that empower me as I continue to make them, you know, day in and day out. It puts me again back in control of my food and my eating. There is a freedom that comes from living this way. In part 2 of the video on how I lost 160 pounds following a high-carb, low-fat vegan lifestyle with alternate day fasting, I'm going to talk about how my thinking has changed. And this is just a little gem for you. There is no arrival. The journey is the destination. So just think about that for a minute. You know, everything we do with the end in mind. But in this journey, really, it's not just about weight loss. I think the journey of life, it's not about the destination, the places that we're trying to get. It is about the journey. The lessons are in the journey. Because as long as we're on this side, as long as we're living and we're breathing and we're growing, there really is no end in sight. And so that was a new awakening for me, because I always thought when I got to a certain weight, my life would be fill in the blank. My life would be better. I would be happier. I would be this. And I never paid attention to the lessons that were available to me during the journey. So that is what I'm going to talk about in the second video. And once you start to realize that there really is no real destination, there is a freedom in just being. You're just being. You go through processes and you're learning and you grow and you stretch and you change and you evolve and you develop. You know, you're just constantly growing, because that is the way that God intended for us to be. So I'm going to end this video right here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for sticking with me in this hiatus. Don't forget to comment, to like, and subscribe. And remember that this channel is here not only to document my weight loss journey, but to hopefully inspire you to start your own journey to wholeness and health, whatever that may look like. So thanks again for tuning in. Take care. I'm falling out my chair. I will see you all on the next video. Bye-bye.